Hello everybody, and thanks for joining me, Ileana, again for another scrappy endeavour in the crafty alcove. This time I just wanted to crack straight on into the Quirky Kits for January and February and share with you a layout I made which features some quite old photographs. But before I get carried away with the story too much, I can tell you a bit about that later. I just wanted to say this layout is in response to a very generous double giveaway from Rory sorry, I've forgotten her name, but she goes by Kateroar on YouTube, and you really want to check out her channel if you haven't already done so. Her style is very much more kind of a clean and really striking, and she does 11 times 8.5 layouts. It's not one I'm particularly familiar with, but I certainly do want to have a go sometime in the future. I just wasn't feeling too confident about that, so I've gone with 12 by 12 for this. And I've pulled out the papers, only a couple of lines. In fact, it's the back of each other of the We Are Memory Keepers paper there. And plus I'm cutting into the chalkboard frames, and I have to say I've just forgotten who did those, but you hopefully would have caught a little glimpse as I showed you just a second ago. So the idea I wanted to give with these chalkboard frames was the fact that I couldn't capture this enigma of a look-alikey, certainly wearing the same clothes as my husband was that day on a trip to London Zoo. We had Lorenz in a little buggy or stroller. He was just a matter of months old. So actually I've dated the layout wrong later on. It was May 2009, not 2010, because Lorenz was born in 2009. And as I say, he was just a baby, and we were rolling around trying to chase after this man to just capture a bit of a sneaky picture, but we couldn't catch his face. So it's all the backs of his head. But that's actually ended up with an even funnier set of pictures than we'd perhaps intended, because we were able to pull these cards out and show our friends every time we had them over for dinner to play Guess Who's Dave kind of thing. And maybe you can play along too if you like. So I'm just showing you some products there as I use them, but in fact those stickers I'm going to be saving for a little bit later on. And I've gone with the pink paisley. The back of that black and white writing is a bit of a beigey kind of a nice paper, but I've just used it to matte the edges to kind of give a right kick matte to the whole layout. So I don't know if I said this, but I had intended to try and make this quite a simple layout and not too much going on and quite clean. And do you know what? For the life of me, I struggle with that. I really wish I could achieve that the way that Rory Valancourt. Oh, so sorry, I'm messing up her name. Anyway, but it's ridiculous. I just get carried away with kind of layering up and making it quite a busy thing. But anyway, it was fun to try. And this I've just used from my own card stash to give the pop of yellow, just to emphasise that one picture, the larger picture there on the bottom right. And I've used my own vellum as well, but apart from the yellow and the vellum that you see me just layering up there and distressing the edge of, all of this comes from the Quirky Kits. And if you haven't checked out my earlier video, the one before this, you can see all the stash that I received in that kit to give you a reference to what I did use. If you ever need that, you're welcome to look. So yeah, I suppose this is where I'm committing the layers and cutting into the edges of the frames, because I think I'll be using those later to tuck into the backgrounds of other layouts. These frames are actually quite a nice thick cardstock as well, so it did feel robust enough to store for a future time. Just switching up the shapes there, circles and squares. And yeah, like I say, just sticking it all down. Now, the tune I've selected, of course, Fly to the Bumblebee. The idea with the layout, the title, was the fact that they're wearing black and yellow. The tune is, of course, about, well, the Bumblebee. Theatrical production, written by who knows who, but the composer is Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, and it's quite a frantic tune. And it comes into its own later on in this layout when I have a bit of an issue and the ink misbehaves. And you'll see how I try to overcome that. And to be honest, if I had more of what I consider quite a precious cardstock, because it's a lovely textured basil cardstock in the colour white, if I had more of that, I'd have probably just lifted everything off and then placed it all back down again. But I'm a bit frugal and I couldn't help it. I tried to remedy the problem, and you'll see me try and do that later. These little bits of green and black, these strips, were the two edges of the bottom mat there that you see the stripes of. So I've just kind of used every part there, outlined them in my trusty Faber-Castell pen, and kind of laid them up across the top there under that beautiful tag that came in the kit that says hello. And it could equally as well say bonjour. And so, okay. I think it can't be long until I do pull out the inks, and I've gone with a gold one as well as a black. But just before I do that, I've picked out the material brads that we got with the kit, and I really liked the way that that girl's skirt matches the pattern on the larger brad. The one I'm putting in at the top there is just kind of like a green wheel, which is quite a nice light colour to have up top, I thought, to go in that cluster. And those fonts, I love those. They really remind me of Tim Holtz's Marketplace dies that I have. But anyway, they've come in the kit with a lovely soft grey colour that I'm quite taken by. And so I'll be using that to spell out flight of the. So I'm going to race through this bit. You get the idea. I'm going to be placing that in a slightly flighty sort of way. And the thickers as well, to make the word Bumblebee across the bottom. Now, my husband's opinion is that I should have kind of whirled up the flight, and he's probably right, and put a bumblebee in there somewhere for real. But by the time I kind of was progressing with the layout, and actually I just thought it was done after my triumphant cover-up of a horrendous spillage. Yeah, the layout kind of felt done enough for me to be happy with. So the words are doing it enough for me to give the indication of flight. I really love that little kind of bookmark that has a smile on it, kind of like a little happy bumblebee's face, I suppose. And I'm going to use the other smiley face just to kind of give a little another pop of yellow up by the hello, but also kind of the idea of this this face that I couldn't find. And I switch the position around a little bit until I finally place it just under the flaps of the kind of flag bit there at the top. But I do really toy with where to put it, so I've stuck it on my Tim Holtz craft mat on the side there just while I was thinking about it. And that's that brad I was talking about that matches, kind of tones in, let's say, with the material of the lady's skirt. So yeah, that bumblebee is really bumbling around right now. It's not going to go there either. It's just resting until finally I tuck it in, as you'll see. And there's an arrow there, and I've kind of placed the arrows in a bit of a naughty way, kind of facing off the page and back into the page, just again to give that sense of movement that we were really darting around with this buggy. And then with the chalkboard ink that I was desperate to use, so that's the white pen that just spells out London Zoo in the corners of the frames. And I've brought out just an old green pen, and the journaling says this: we called him French Dave, the other one, the elusive chap on a quiet day out at the zoo with his lady, having to escape the paparazzi that was Julie, Dave and me. But alas, French Dave, who wore English Dave's clothes, could not be captured. And this is about the point that Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov tells the story a lot better than I can in music, so over to him. So as you see, I rolled over a bit of white Tipp-Ex kind of correction tape, if you like, just to try and remedy the error. It's still so terribly visible, but I went over with a few more black ink splats just to try and cover over. Okay, so that about wraps it up for me, and I just want to say thanks so much for watching. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye!